This is interesting stuff. We're at University of California, San Diego, and then one of the exhibition spaces for the special collections. With pleasure, I'm gonna talk about an artist named DeLoss McGraw, and his work is right behind me. And he's an artist I've written about for, God, more than 40 years. This painting here was in a first show that he did in Los Angeles. I saw that show because I was assigned the show. I was actually a junior critic at the time at the LA Times, so I did not know his work. When I came in, I thought, this is interesting stuff. There's a reference to a poet here. The poet is terrified by his own thought. And then this other piece here, same show, says WD chasing fireflies. So I thought, okay, is the poet the same as WD? I hadn't read anything about him or the show yet. And what I came to realize is that WD was W.D. Snodgrass, a poet who he was interested in. He had sent copies of these images to W.D. Snodgrass, who didn't know him, and asked him if he could show this work. And so he thought it was interesting. He gave it his blessing. And the other thing I noticed is that in a way he was creating a character named WD, which is not supposed to be one and the same as the poet, because it's almost like a persona that he's created by interpreting the poems. So the other thing I realized quickly from looking at his work was he's not illustrating the poems, his poetry. He's reacting to it and interpreting it visually. And what happened, of course, as we think about this, is Snodgrass became very interested in this idea, and they began a long collaboration together. I got to know him in 1985 because I came to San Diego as a critic that year. And a year later, I think I found out that he actually lived here. So I went and visited him at his ramshackle house in Golden Hill, did an interview piece with him. And then within another year, he said, well, I'm working on another series with W.D. Snodgrass called WD's Midnight Carnival. I don't know how that quite came to be, but anyway, they were working on it. And he said, would you write an introduction? Because we're gonna produce a series of colored etchings. It's about a dark kind of carnival, midnight carnival. You can see the imagery here. You have the skeleton holding up the big top, right? The miniature big top. You have the imagery associated with the poem on each side. And again, it's not illustrating the poem so much as the two are interplaying with each other. They're playing off of each other. And that became a kind of trademark of their collaboration. One of the nice aspects of this exhibition by DeLoss McGraw is the correspondence between him and Snodgrass. I thought, Linda Clausen did a wonderful job of kind of like almost a little collage of letters in here. Now you have the cover, which is very nice, for WD's Midnight Carnival. And then you have the correspondence about Midnight Carnival in here. Like, for example, there's one poem here, The Capture of Mr. Sun. You have WD writing here, hey, baby, I like this one, and sending it to DeLoss. And then in another case over there, he's talking about they're producing the book version of it, right? The one that's available for a fairly inexpensive trade book, and saying, to DeLoss, hey, it's your baby, do what you want with it. I think they were probably pretty generous with each other, trusting, right? And you sort of see that in the way that they wrote back and forth here. It's a very exuberant kind of correspondence. It's called WD Attempts to Save Cock Robin. Now, Cock Robin is a reference to an 18th century English nursery rhyme, Who Killed Cock Robin, in which a bunch of characters are questioned about who killed the cock robin and sort of try to answer it over time. Now, what they did is they try to expand on this and create almost like a drama about it, with WD being like a character in the story of Cock Robin, but also he's the poet writing about Cock Robin in the poems that accompany these paintings. He's not illustrating so much the nursery rhyme as they're kind of interpreting it and dramatizing it through the images and through the new poems that W.D. wrote, which is a whole cycle of poems called Who Killed Cock Robin. When I asked DeLoss about it, he said that one of the things about nursery rhymes that appeal to him is that they are childlike, but they also deal with things like death, right? And one of his favorite poets is William Blake, which may not surprise you because there's a lot of angels in DeLoss's work too, and some of the other paintings, but he likes that idea of counterpointing innocence and experience, right? And I think that's one of the things that attracted him to the Cock Robin nursery rhyme. And I have to think, I don't know this for a fact, but I have to think that he inspired W.D. Snodgrass to start writing poems, which were variations on the nursery rhyme, because I think DeLoss was interested in nursery rhymes in general. One of the things I think that he does that's very enticing is have fantastical architecture, like, you know, buildings that look like towers with windows that don't really correspond to actual windows, right? In glass color, they're different colors, and you can see this kind of immense arch over that. We'd have no idea if the roost is only the house, or is it this? Is it both? And I think that another thing that is important to mention about this piece is, you know, I've been talking about the literary elements of his work, but he's also a good colorist. The vibrant color in this piece is really part of what pulls you in. It's not just about the content, but it's about the way the colors mesh in this arch, and also in relation to this being kind of the foreground and that being the background, you know? So it kind of pulls it all together. It's fantastical. You have to enter into the world of not being interested in realism, but interested in the kind of the play of the imagination within these pieces, which would go perfectly with the idea that he's interested in childhood and childhood state of mind, right? This is Bob, and this is Art with Bob Pincus again, and thank you for watching, and we look forward to you seeing future episodes.